Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about HubSpot. If you're hustling in the trenches to build a business or bootstrapping one of your own, let's talk about an AI-powered tool that can lighten up your workload a bit. HubSpot's Campaign Assistant is a game changer for creating marketing campaigns at scale. It quickly turns your key selling points into a cohesive pitch, which helps you deliver knockout emails, ads, and landing pages in minutes. So let Campaign Assistant take care of the campaigns so you can get back to growing your business. Work smarter, not harder at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, October 5th. I'm Ben Berkley here with Lestraundra Alfred, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Think for a moment about the celebrities you know and love getting put to work by the brands that you know and may or may not love. And you're probably thinking about Snoop Dogg in a commercial or Kylie Jenner posting something with the hashtag SpawnCon. But the model for leveraging individuals' fame and prominence is starting to evolve, covering new ground that includes adding celebrities to the company roster. In our top story today, we'll tell you more about this trend and offer examples of the creative ways companies are working with famous figures today. But first, let's run through the stories making headlines in the world of business and tech. The largest healthcare worker strike in U.S. history is unfolding. More than 75,000 Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers went on strike yesterday after failing to reach a contract deal. The Kaiser system provides care for 13 million people across 8 states. And this, of course, adds to one of the biggest business stories of the year, the historic highs in U.S. workdays lost to labor disputes. Auto workers and actors remain on strike, among many others. We'll naturally keep going back to these stories as they develop. For now, though, Uber's latest update is here, and it's all too pleased to encourage your online shopping habit. Users can now request an Uber for that pesky errand of returning packages. Uber drivers will drop off items that they wish to return at, say, a local post office, FedEx store, or UPS store for a standard $5 rate. There'll also be a reduced rate for its premium members. Premium members of Spotify, meanwhile, can expect a whole new feature as well. Subscribers in the UK and Australia now have access to 150,000 audiobooks. US members will gain access to this feature later this year, with more markets to launch in the future. Of course, there are some premium shoppers who are not having a great time today. Those who bought Apple's 18-karat gold luxury smartwatches many years ago are finding out that those products are now obsolete, so they cannot be repaired at Apple Store directly or at any authorized repair stores. When these launched in 2015, they cost up to $17,000. And you'd hope that kind of price tag would come with a lifetime supply of Apple Care, but that's not the case. And, sure, it sucks for anyone who dropped that money on a smartwatch, but probably if you're spending that money on such a product, you're probably doing okay. One last news item before our top story. If you don't know about the so-called cheesecake factor, we're going to fix that for you. If you want to know how financially healthy your local mall is, there's a pretty good initial question to ask. Does it house a cheesecake factory? New data from Moody's suggests it'll tell you a lot, as malls with cheesecake factories are current on their loan payments about 93% of the time versus those that lack the restaurant, who are only current on their loan payments 72% of the time. For the record, they also suggest Apple stores as another informal measuring stick when weighing malls' likelihood of survival. There was this quote from an economist, summed it up really nicely, that people go to the mall to go to Apple. They don't go to a mall and end up at Apple. The same logic, they say, applies to the Cheesecake Factory. So next time you're at the mall, look around, see if that thing's going to survive. But now we're going to move on to our top story, the evolution of partnerships between celebrities and brands. To be clear, the days of the celebrity spokesperson, they're not numbered. This trend is not replacing anything. This is adding a new layer of engagement between the companies that spend billions of dollars every year trying to get our attention and the individuals, say Hollywood stars, musicians, athletes, models, who already have that attention on lock. Les, you dug into this story, so I'd love for you to start us off. What should people know about this trend?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, there was a headline about Tom Brady now being employed by Delta Airlines, which is a really, really interesting tidbit. For those who may not be football fans, Tom Brady has been retired for maybe about a year or so from football. So I would imagine he has a little extra time on his hands and is looking for something else to do. But I did not anticipate getting a 9 to 5 at Delta to be what was next for Tom Brady, but it is. So essentially, Tom Brady has joined the Delta team in kind of a consultant spokesperson hybrid role. Delta's hoping that Tom's leadership skills and team building skills can rub off on them, their employees, and their customer base. This is really just one example in celebrity brand partnerships and how they've evolved over the past few decades.
Yeah, this was not what I was expecting out of Tom Brady, but I do think that when you kind of put it together in context with a lot of other examples, it does show there are all these creative ways of leveraging celebrities. I feel like you also pointed out Sophia Richie Grange, that she was also a really good example of that. Could you tell us more about what she's been up to?
Absolutely. So Sophia Richie has had quite the 2023, although previously she's been best known as Lionel Richie's daughter. Earlier this year, she got married, and around the time of her wedding was when she established her TikTok presence and essentially went viral, kind of becoming a new it girl for Gen Zs. Now, since last year, Sophia has also been a part of the Nude Sticks team. Nude Sticks is a cosmetics brand, which she owns part stake in, and she also serves as a beauty director for the brand. So while she had this viral moment around her wedding, her makeup artist was sharing some of the products that she used on Sophia during her wedding weekend, of course, shouting out several Nude Sticks products. And around that time, Nude Sticks saw almost a 3,000% increase in sales for these specific products. So that company is definitely seeing an ROI from working with Sophia Richie.
One thing I'm curious about here is you see a lot of different titles going around. Like, I feel like you've got Prince Harry, who is in his startup Better Up, which as like the chief impact officer. You've seen a lot of different, apparel brands bringing in, say, an athlete or musician, notably thinking of like Adidas and Ye, which it didn't go so well in the end. But I'm just kind of curious, as this is happening and this trend just continues to build, what are the risks for these businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think you bringing up Adidas and Ye is a really great example where a brand can have a really lucrative partnership with a celebrity, but if a celebrity does something or said something or has a moment or a headline that's not brand safe, it then puts the brands that work with them in kind of a precarious position because it's almost assumed that the brand that works with them is going to co-sign or agree with that behavior. So I think both brands and celebrities are trying to find new ways to work together. One, because brands are always looking for ways to capitalize on popular moments. And two, the entertainment industry is shifting a lot. So I think a lot of entertainers are looking for different ways to build their businesses and sustain their personal brands, as we've seen from the strikes this year with SAG. So actors are not currently working. The writers' strike just ended. Though the music industry doesn't necessarily have the same structure with streaming and with touring revenue, the way that celebrities make money is different than it was in the past. And so a lot of them are either looking towards entrepreneurship and creating their own brands, kind of like Rihanna did, or if they're not in a position to create their own brand, kind of tack on to something more stable with an existing brand.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting to me about all of this is that you're not necessarily seeing it so front-facing. Obviously, there's the big PR lift moment of, look at us, we're Delta and we have Tom Brady. But it seems the structure of this deal beyond that, you're not going to like turn on TV and see like him in a pilot outfit running to catch a plane or something and like, look, it's a Tom Brady commercial. That doesn't seem like it's happening. And
right.
that's kind of feels really strange to me, but also makes sense. A good deal for him.
Really strange. I mean, a lot of it sounds like with that relationship that Tom Brady is going to be working with Delta employees and kind of training and developing their employees, which is such a far cry from, celebrity partnerships in the past. The biggest example I can think of is like Britney Spears and Pepsi in the early 2000s, these really big budget commercials that everybody knew that she was the face of Pepsi. This is a really interesting scenario where it's a little bit more behind the scenes and companies are looking for celebrities to impact their company culture.
Yeah, I feel like that's such an interesting way to leverage these what are ultimately really famous faces. And I guess kind of that makes me want to pull back for a second here on just like celebrities and marketing in general, because it still is effective. Clearly, there's a lot of ROI in these partnerships, otherwise they wouldn't be happening. I guess I would have assumed that the rise of this influencer class would kind of dilute the pool a little and kind of like promotional overload for consumers, but you're still seeing so many commercials out there with stars plastered all over everything. How is this so enduring?
I mean, I think as consumers, what we're interested in is constantly evolving. And so I do think that the rise of the influencer has cut into traditional celebrity brand partnerships a bit in ways that we hadn't seen before, because it's a way for brands to get really hyper specific with who they're targeting. If they're working with an influencer who has a very specific demographic, a brand can pinpoint that, but then they're still going to work with celebrities for more macro brand awareness. So I think both plays kind of work together to serve a different purpose.
That makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna pivot us to just like a fun last thing here. So I know like the takeaway for many listeners is probably going to be that like counting the rich and famous as their coworker in the future may not be so far-fetched. So kind of keeping in line with that dreaming, who would you add to Team Hustle and how are you deploying them? If you want me to go first, if you want to think about it, I can go first.
I definitely have an answer for this.
Oh, please hit us with that.
Okay, if we're talking celebrities to add to Team Hustle, I actually think that Issa Rae would be the perfect coworker, because not only is she hilarious and a content queen, but she just has so much business savvy and knows how to build multimedia platforms like none other. And I also feel like if we all worked in an office together and Issa was at the cubicle next to us, she would just be really fun to work with.
We got to be able to make that happen, right?
Right. She's spoken it inbound. So, not too far-fetched.
Okay. I like this. My answer's going for a 2-for-1 deal here. I'm going to go with Penn and Teller. We've got like Teller kind of doing some like training materials on how to communicate effectively without being wordy. I feel like Penn could probably tell us a lot about working well as a small creative unit. They've been doing this at a high level for decades together. Just lots to learn there. And obviously then I just want to see magic. But I feel like Issa Rae and Penn and Teller, we're going to make some offers here. They're not going to be monetarily attractive, but we're fun to work with, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll see how that goes. I'll make some calls. So let's call it right there for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Ezra Trupiano and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. We will see you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.